Before we begin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Your support helps us create more amazing psychology content for you. Now, let's get started. Human behavior is deeply connected to the way our brains process emotions, information, and social situations. When it comes to men, psychology suggests that their brains often react differently to certain stimuli compared to women. This difference does not mean one gender is better than the other. Rather, it reflects variations in brain structure, hormones, and social conditioning. Studies in psychology show that men's brains are generally more focused on problem-solving and logical processing when faced with challenges. Instead of immediately expressing emotions, many men instinctively try to find a solution to the issue at hand. This reaction can sometimes make them appear distant or less emotionally responsive, but in reality, their brains are simply wired to analyze the situation first and communicate later. Understanding this psychological response helps explain why men often seem quiet or thoughtful during emotional discussions. They are mentally working through the problem before speaking. Another interesting psychological truth about men's brains is their strong response to visual stimuli. Research in behavioral psychology indicates that the male brain processes visual information very quickly, especially when it comes to attraction and interest. The visual cortex in men tends to become highly active when they see something appealing, which is why men are often described as visually oriented. This does not mean men are shallow. Rather, their brains are biologically programmed to quickly evaluate visual cues such as body language, facial expressions, and physical appearance. These rapid assessments were historically linked to survival and reproduction instincts. In modern relationships, this can influence how men notice small visual details, like a change in someone's appearance or a confident posture, sometimes even before they process deeper emotional signals. Men's brains also react strongly to feelings of respect and recognition. In psychology, respect is considered one of the most powerful emotional triggers for many men. When men feel respected, whether in relationships, friendships, or workplaces, their brains release dopamine, a chemical associated with motivation and reward. This makes them feel valued and encourages them to invest more effort and loyalty in the situation. On the other hand, when men feel disrespected or unappreciated, their brains may react defensively. This defensive reaction can appear as silence, frustration, or withdrawal. It is not necessarily a lack of emotion, but rather a psychological response to protect their sense of identity and pride. Another fascinating reaction in men's brains involves competition and achievement. Psychological studies show that men often experience a strong surge of motivation when they face competition or challenges. This is partly influenced by testosterone, a hormone linked to dominance, confidence, and risk-taking behavior. When men set goals, whether in careers, sports, or personal ambitions, the brain's reward system becomes highly active. Achieving these goals triggers a release of dopamine, creating a feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment. This is why many men feel a strong drive to prove themselves, overcome obstacles, and reach milestones. It is not simply about winning. It is about fulfilling a deep psychological need for progress and achievement. Men's brains can also react differently when dealing with emotional stress. Instead of immediately talking about their feelings, many men instinctively withdraw for a short period of time. Psychologists often refer to this behavior as the retreat and recharge response. During stressful situations, the male brain tends to focus inward, analyzing the problem privately. This can sometimes create misunderstandings in relationships because others may interpret silence as indifference. In reality, the brain is processing emotions internally before expressing them externally. Once the man feels mentally prepared, he may return to the conversation with a clearer perspective or a practical solution. Another psychological truth is that men often form strong bonds through shared activities rather than deep conversations. While emotional conversations can certainly build connections, many men feel closer to others when they participate in activities together, such as sports, work projects, or hobbies. During these moments, the brain releases bonding hormones like oxytocin in a more subtle way. This explains why friendships among men often grow stronger through experiences rather than lengthy discussions about emotions. The activity itself becomes a language of connection, allowing trust and camaraderie to develop naturally over time. Fear and vulnerability also trigger unique reactions in men's brains. From a young age, many boys are socially conditioned to hide fear or sadness and present themselves as strong. Over time, this conditioning influences how the brain manages vulnerable emotions. Instead of openly expressing insecurity, men may channel those feelings into action, humor, or silence. Psychologically, this does not mean men lack emotional depth. In fact, many men experience emotions just as intensely as women do, but their brains often process and display those emotions differently due to both biological and social influences. Love and attachment also activate powerful responses in the male brain. When a man develops deep feelings for someone, his brain releases chemicals such as dopamine, oxytocin, and vasopressin. These chemicals strengthen emotional bonding and loyalty. Contrary to the stereotype that men avoid commitment, psychological research suggests that once men form a strong attachment, they can become highly protective and devoted partners. The brain begins associating the loved person with comfort, security, and emotional reward, which reinforces long-term connection and dedication. Another surprising psychological truth is that men often remember moments when they felt genuinely appreciated. While they may not always express it openly, appreciation activates the brain's reward system and creates a lasting emotional memory. Simple gestures of gratitude, acknowledgement, or encouragement can have a significant impact on how men feel about themselves and their relationships. This is because appreciation validates their efforts and reinforces their sense of purpose. In the end, understanding how men's brains react is not about labeling behaviors but about recognizing the psychological patterns behind them. Men, like all humans, are complex individuals shaped by biology, experiences, and culture. Their reactions, whether logical, competitive, protective, or quiet, are often reflections of deeper mental processes happening beneath the surface. By understanding these psychological truths, we can communicate better, build stronger relationships, and appreciate the unique ways different minds experience the world.